A very warm welcome to Africa. Good morning. We are broadcasting the news making headlines, and today we are particularly excited because it is International Women's Day. Hala to every strong woman out there. My name is Aina Raizakwea. Alongside me is the beautiful Glenora Shipura.
We are both very excited about International Women's Day. Now, a challenged world is an alert world, and from challenges comes change. So let's all choose to challenge. How will you help forge a gender equal world? Celebrate women's achievement, raise awareness against bias, or take action for equality? Now, me and Aina are going to share on our various social media pages the importance of celebrating Women's Day. I wonder what you're going to do on this special day. Let's have a look at this video on International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day, happy Tuesday, and thank you very much for joining us, Wednesday rather. Now, the Egyptian female Randa Helmi was appointed for State Council at top court in Egypt. The appointment follows a decision by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi last year to allow women to join the council on the Egypt's main judicial body. Today is a historic day for us, for all Egyptian women, for the Egyptian judiciary in general, said Reem Musa, another female judge. The announcement was made on Saturday ahead of International Women's Day. For other judges, the president's decision is a step in the right direction in the fight against social prejudice.
Now, in our next story, UN confirms more than 400 civilian deaths in Ukraine. Now, the United Nations Human Rights Office said on Monday it had confirmed the deaths of 406 civilians, including 27 children, in Ukraine since the start of Russia's invasion on February 24. But it said the real figure was likely to be much higher. Now, the latest figures from the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, which had a monitoring mission in Ukraine, cover the period from 24 February to 6 March. Now, on Sunday, at least 364 civilians had been confirmed to have been killed in Ukraine since Russian troops invaded, and another 759 wounded, although the true numbers are probably considerably higher, according to a UN monitoring mission. Now, the updated figures related to casualties through March 5 added a further 13 deaths and 52 injuries to the casualties.
In our next story, nightmare underage marriage for Moroccan girls. Morocco's 2004 code put the legal age for marriage at 18, but it includes a clause allowing judges to give families special dispensation to marry off children under that age. Rights groups have long called for the loophole to be closed, but according to official figures, judges approved some 13,000 waivers in 2020 alone, more than half of the total application. That figure does not include minor wedded in customary marriages, not recognized in laws but sealed with a simple reading of a verse from the Quran alongside two witnesses. For the last 10 years, an association has been taking an annual convoy throughout Morocco's remote mountain communities, stopping to raise awareness of the dangers of underage marriage, organize debates, and distribute aid.
Now, in our next story, Ivory Coast apartment building collapse kills at least 4. Now, a 5-story apartment block collapsed in Ivory Coast commercial capital of Abidjan, killing at least 4 people, including 2 children, the fire brigade said yesterday. Now, firefighters were called to the neighborhood of Kokodi shortly after midnight. 4 bodies had been recovered from the rubble by mid-morning, the fire brigade said on Facebook. Now, 30 people were carried out alive, 13 of whom were taken to hospital. The number of people in the building when it collapsed was not immediately clear. Now, photos from the scene showed rescue workers using torches to search through a giant pile of cement and debris. One firefighter cradled a baby in the back of an ambulance.
The number of COVID deaths reached the grim milestone of 6 million. The official death toll from COVID-19 reached the 6 million mark on Sunday, according to data from the Johns Hopkins University. South Africa, in particular, has been hit hard, counting over 3.5 million infections and just over 99,500 deaths since the start of the outbreak. Official numbers suggested that South Africa has now administered over 31 million vaccine doses. It means nearly 50% of the adult population is fully vaccinated. Most restrictions to prevent the spread of the virus have been lifted. We'll be right back with more news after this short commercial break.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag #paybackthemoney.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. Now we tackle the second batch of news stories. Syria, 2 civilians killed in Israeli attack near Damascus. Now Syria state media says an Israeli missile attack has killed 2 civilians and left material damage on the outskirts of the capital, Damascus. Now, Israel carried out the attack at about 5 a.m. on Monday, hitting positions south of Damascus, Syria's official Sana news agency said, citing a military source. Now, air defense systems intercepted the missiles, downing most of them, Sana said. Now, 2 civilians were killed and some material damage was incurred. It added without specifying how the deaths occurred. Now, the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a monitoring group, said the missiles hit a weapons and ammunition depot operated by Iran-backed militias near the Damascus International Airport. Now, the group, which rallies on an extensive network of sources inside Syria, said it could not confirm civilian deaths. Now, according to SOHR, Israel has carried out raids in Syria at least 7 times since the start of the year.
Rwanda government to reopen land borders. Effective Monday, the 7th of March, the government of Rwanda will open all its land borders. The decision was reached during the cabinet meeting and convened on Friday, the 4th of March, with an agenda of assessing the existing COVID-19 measures, amongst others. Land borders shall reopen starting Monday, the 7th of March, but people must be subject to random COVID-19 testing by the Ministry of Health upon entry, read the meeting communique issued by the Prime Minister's office. Rwanda's border with the Democratic Republic of Congo has been open while the former frontier with the eastern Tanzania had been closed as per COVID-19 Eastern African protocols. On the other hand, Rwanda's southern border with Burundi has been closed for almost 7 years after the sister nation relations became icy in 2015. At that time, the government of Rwanda expressed concern about increasing reports of unrest and violence targeting unarmed Rwandan civilians residing in Burundi, hence the closing of the border to avoid more effects.
Now, Mozambique, Tanzania and Zambia are on high alert after Malawi registers a polio case. Now, the World Health Organization has put Mozambique, Tanzania and Zambia on high alert after a wild polio virus case was detected in Malawi. Now, the WHO said additional vaccinations for children under the age of 5 in Malawi and the neighboring countries will be administered shortly. Now, Malawi has scheduled a mass supplemental polio vaccination response targeting children under the age of 5 using the bivalent oral polio vaccine recommended by WHO and the Global Polio Eradication Initiative's partner for type 1 wild polio virus. Now, 4 rounds of polio vaccination campaigns are planned. All the neighboring countries, Mozambique, Tanzania and Zambia, have been alerted and are planning to conduct immunization campaigns as well, with the WHO said in a statement. Now, all countries that have eradicated polio use the BOPV to interrupt person-to-person transmission of the virus. It is also a relatively low-cost vaccine at about 20 US cents for countries that access it through the United Nations Children's Fund. Now, the emergence of wild polio is of grave concern because Africa was declared polio-free in August 2020.
Training and job creation projects worth 551 million rand launched in KZN. Employment and Land Minister Thulas Nxesi launched training program in KwaZulu-Natal worth 551 million rand aimed at job creation, skill development and support for entrepreneurship. The program's launch on Friday at the University of KZN in Glenwood, Durban, aimed at creating jobs in the fiber optics, food handling and mixed farming sector, where as a result of Unemployment Insurance Fund entering into a partnership agreement with the Fuse Institute for Humanitarian Praxis. The department said the UIF, through its labor activation program, has set aside 551 million rand for the 3 projects of 19,921 beneficiaries, 70% of which are former UIF contributors who lost their jobs to undergo training in various skills disciplines. Addressing the launch, Nxesi said all efforts to create employment in South Africa should be strongly welcomed, considering the high levels of unemployment in the country.
Now, Netflix is shutting down all services in Russia. Now, Netflix is shutting its operations in Russia, one of the largest media companies to pull out of the market following the attack on Ukraine. Now, new customers will be able to sign up, and it's unclear what will happen with existing accounts, the company said. Now, the service has under 1 million customers in Russia. Now, Netflix, which has been operating in Russia through a joint venture with National Media Group, joins a growing list of companies from Apple Inc. to IKEA in suspending or terminating their businesses in the country after its invasion of Ukraine last month. Now, several Hollywood studios have also paused the release of movies in Russia. The streaming giant said previously it won't be carrying required Russian news channels on its local language service in the country, and has also paused all projects and acquisitions from Russia, including 4 Russian original programs in production.
Well, after the break, we talk about a sanitation project that helps people in informal settlements tackle issues that they face on a daily basis. Right after the break, stay with us.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Now, in our next story, Shea Timo Gottlieb, the sanitation project coordinator at the Development Workshop of Namibia, explains how the DWN's outreach to informal communities helped them to tackle the at times devastating social issues they face: a lack of toilets, land for housing, running water, and more. He emphasizing that showing a small group of people the way forward can lead to possible ripple effects as they begin to help lead others towards a better quality life. Now let's have a look at this video on that.
My name is Gottlieb Shea Timo. I am the National Program Coordinator of Sanitation at Development Workshop Namibia. You work in a community where kids are always going to the local clinic, and the issue is always diarrhea and basically a simple thing that is just hygiene related. And when you work in this community, you give the correct information and you see people changing their behavior. There is also a pattern of improved quality of life, where communities now understand the importance of hand washing, using a toilet, managing their waste, recycling. So it's really amazing, bringing a lot of positive changes, not just to one households, but to an entire collective community. We use an approach called community-led total sanitation, which then also empowers community to be at the forefront of their sanitation situation. So if their community feels they are valued about someone who comes in their community to warn them about the danger of a very common practice that everyone does and oversee. So you break it down. How much money will you lose per year if you practice open defecation? There is no dignity in that. It's not safe. There is no respect, and you know, you lose a lot of money when your kids are always sick, going to the hospital. You do not wash your hands. And then you say, sometimes it's not affordability. It's really, you just need to be inspired to do it. There are many methods on how to do it. And we do admit that there are in areas that are really challenged or of low socioeconomic status. Plan with them. What are the alternatives? If the toilet says, for instance, okay, you need how much to build me, and you can come up with a strategy to say, but I have a good relationship with 3 of my neighbors that also don't have toilets. What if each person brings something? We come up with our rules on how to use the toilet. We both have access to a toilet while on a long run still saving up for our individual toilets. So this is really, it's really about the will and showing people that you can do it, because for us, it's more of a collective behavior. How many people could we convince in that area to understand the importance of waste management? And they are also willing to teach other communities on how to easily do it, because their cousins live in areas where there are no toilet until today. So when they visit them, it's very much awkward to do open defecation in someone's area when in your house you have access to a toilet. So they do also want to assist in that community to say, no, you can actually do your toilet, you just need this and that. I can assist you to give you the information. And this is a big change that is happening in their community sometimes for the first time. People in the communities feel abandoned by their local municipalities and by everyone. People only respond when there's a crisis, when there's an outbreak. And now you are here telling them, okay, there might be no outbreak now, but it can come anytime. But this we can prevent if we all do this. So the community then understand really the true reason why you are convincing them to build a toilet. Although sometimes they can't afford, they really do try to improvise. So this really is a life changer, and it's also, it influences a generational behavior change. And for instance, if someone in the community, in the informal settlements this year or last year, they started using a tippy tap, they are likely to continue using it and also spread the idea wherever they will be in Namibia. We were also able to do 7 assessments that was done by the National Open Defecation Free Committee. So these are 7 areas in the informal settlement that were assessed, and then they were declared open defecation free. And these areas are cutting across 4 towns. They are now comparing their areas to other areas to say, for instance, in Kapuka, people do not have toilets, people are just defecating on the mountain. But when you come here, it's a different experience. And it brought pride that their area was declared open defecation free, because it really showed that they can do it on their own. They did all the cleanup campaign, they did all the meetings, they encouraged their neighbors to build toilets, they encouraged their neighbors to have hand washing facilities. So it's really a collective pride that they also carry after being declared open defecation free. And also it also comes with a lot of value to hear that you are the first in the city, for instance, an area to be declared open defecation free.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Happy Tuesday and welcome back to Africa. Good morning. Right now we are crossing over to the House of Stone where Talent Kore has the stories on the ground. Good morning, Talent. How are you?
Good morning, Aina. Good morning, Africa. I'm all right. How are you doing?
Please tell us about the prices of fuel that increased with immediate effect.
Well, the Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority has raised fuel prices with immediate effect, citing the increase in international crude oil prices. In a statement, Zeta said that Zimbabwean dollars per litre from 168 Zimbabwean dollars, while blend will go for 195 Zimbabwean dollars from 152. The United States dollar price has been pegged at 151 US dollar per litre from $144 from $44 USD for diesel, and for petrol it has been pegged at $1.51 USD from $1.41 USD for petrol. So the regulatory authority said that the final price to cushion the economy, and they said that the public and operators advising ratio still remains at E0, which means that the blend has ethanol 0. There is no ethanol in the blend. So let's say that this price hike was fueled by the increase in national oil prices.
All right. Now, the Zimbabwe government has defended its decision not to vote against Russia's invasion of Ukraine at the United Nations General Assembly. Can you tell us more about this?
So the Zimbabwe has defended its decision not to vote against Russia's invasion of Ukraine at the United Nations, saying that it chose to abstain because it does not support the imposition of sanctions against member states. Zimbabwe, China, and South Africa, which abstained from voting. In a statement, Foreign Affairs Minister Amon Murwira said that Zimbabwe abstained and vote because the Russia-Ukraine was complex. He said that Zimbabwe abstained in vote, and he wishes to assure that Zimbabwe is a strong believer in the principles and purposes. So it was against the sanctions against Russia was what the UN believes, especially amongst the member states.
All right, Zimbabwe starts cloud seeding as crop suffers growing moisture stress. Please tell us about this.
The Meteorological Service commenced cloud seeding in order to encourage rainfall after crops, especially limited crops, are showing signs of prolonged. In some areas, farming losses is the late planted maize, sugar beans, and soybeans to the high temperatures in drying conditions.
Talent, are you here with? Are you with us?
Planted. Yes, I'm there.
Okay, please do continue.
Apparently, we haven't been receiving any rains, so those people who planted their crops late, they are actually counting their losses after the dying. So the meteorological last week said cloud seeding to encourage the rainfall so that people can at least get something from the season. They are going to be doing this continuously across the whole country to encourage in most parts of the country.
Talent, thank you very much for this comprehensive report.
You're welcome, and thank you for.
All right, coming up next is your weather. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and thank you for staying with us. Now in our next video, we're going to be looking at agriculture. Now the agriculture remains one of the biggest economies of the country, with 70% of people's livelihoods depending on it. The Ministry of Water and Land Reform recently handed over equipment to small-scale farmers to speed the process of addressing food security in the country. Namibia's Minister of Agriculture, Carl Schleitwein, said the equipment were procured with Namibia Agricultural Mechanization and Seed Improvement Project and will be made available to farmers for and during cultivation. He said the target beneficiaries of this project are small-scale farmers that need assistance to put their game and improve their farming. Schleitwein stated that it also enhances agricultural productivity in order to reduce annual importation of certain food, and it will also have a massive economic effect as it creates jobs. Let's have a look.
Okay. I face it down. This one is a knapsack sprayer. Normally it's used for controlling pests in our crop field. Maybe some of the farmer knows it already, but I understand some might be seeing it for the first time today. So what is happening? You put your chemical that you want to use. Also, don't forget to put on protective clothes. Myself today, I'm not having it because I'm just using normal water. Okay. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, so when you put in the chemical, not too full to avoid spillage, then you will be creating pressure by this handle before it pumps.
Harvest, and let's pray for rain. Honorable Governor, while I have your ear, we have, with some concern, taken note of an effort to spread untruths and misinformation about the Etunda asparagus plantation. The agitators claim that weather station equipment and the plantation itself reduces the chances for rain in the region, and that the asparagus plants themselves have a negative impact on rain. Well, Governor, up front, I must say that these allegations are totally unfounded and they border on ridiculousness. And I'm trying to share with you why I say that. First of all, I do not know how many millions of weather stations there are the world over. And there are also many in Namibia. These weather stations are doing nothing else but measuring wind, humidity, temperature. Comrade Governor has elaborated on. It is a total value chain operation that is involved in Namibia from planting to consumption. That's what Growth at Home is about. And you can see, if you see that a relatively small piece of land can create 800 jobs and earn millions of NAM dollars a year, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Governor, we must refrain from trying to damage and destroy what is good for us. We must stop with this ridiculous misinformation. It is harmful for our people. In this case, we risk putting into jeopardy more than 800 jobs. We are pushing 800 families into poverty if we listen to these people. Is that what we want? No. Therefore, I fully support the efforts of your colleague, Governor Njala, to ensure that this matter is put to rest and that we can continue with food production and exports of high quality products like asparagus in Itunda. To say that plants influence weather patterns. In fact, plants increase the chances of rain. If you have a forest vis-a-vis a desert, the forest increases your chances of rain if compared to a barren landscape. So that argument is also completely foundless and unfounded and, well, not scientifically based at all. Governor, thirdly, we have an investment in agricultural production which has brought about the creation of over 800 jobs. 800 families depend on their job and income on this plantation and in the factory. It earns significant foreign currency through its exports. And last not least, it produces food. Are we really saying we must stop producing food? We must take the job away from 800 people? And base that on completely illogical, absurd arguments? I'm worried if these types of things happen. This asparagus plantation with its factory.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Now let's take a look at our economic news stories. Now oil price spikes to $139 on talks about Russia oil ban, Iran deal delay. Now oil prices spiked to their highest level since 2008 on Monday amid market supply fears as the United States and European allies considered banning Russian oil imports and prospects for a swift return of Iranian crude to global markets receded. Now, in the first few minutes of trade, Brent crude reached $139.13 a barrel, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate hit $130.50, both benchmarks striking their highest since July 2008. Now, by 12:04 GMT, prices had eased back, with Brent up 6.3% at $125.55 per, and WTI up 6.7% at $123.37. Now, global oil prices have spiked more than 60% since the start of 2022, along with other commodities, raising concerns about world economic growth and stagflation. China, the world's #2 economy, is already targeting slower growth of 5.5% this year. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Sunday the United States and European allies were exploring banning imports of Russian oil, while the White House was coordinating with congressional committees to move forward with a U.S. ban.
In our next story, Libya's national oil company announces suspension of production. Libya's national oil company announced on Sunday the suspension of oil production from 2 major fields. According to a statement released on social media, production was interrupted after an armed group shut down the venues delivering the crude. The statement added that the closure is causing losses of 330,000 barrels per day and a daily loss of around 32 million euros. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's regime in 2011, that Libya has been involved in a more than a decade of civil unrest. A parallel government sworn in Libya's parliament and seeking to oust the ruling executive in Tripoli was sworn in last Thursday, further aggravating the institutional crisis in the country.
Now, in our next story, Angola is the 5th largest exporter to the United States of America. Angola was the 5th largest exporter to the United States of America in 2021, among the 36 African countries benefiting from preferential trading conditions under the Growth and Opportunities Act. Now, just after Angola are African countries such as South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana. U.S. imports of African products under the Growth and Opportunities Act rose 59% last year, growing from $4.2 billion in 2020 to $6.7 billion in 2021. Now, according to the Bloomberg Financial Information Agency, quoted by Lusa, the volume of sales from Africa to the United States of America under this law grew from $4.2 billion to $6.7 billion in the last year, recovering in the face of the fall caused by the confinement measures to combat the COVID-19 pandemic.
Digital financial services use up. The use of digital financial services in the country went up in 2021, a situation information, communication and technology experts have rated as an ideal step towards digitizing the economy. Figures released on Friday by the Reserve Bank of Malawi show that the volume and value of digital financial services transactions went up by 62.8% and 39.9% respectively to 765.4 million and 9.7 trillion kwacha during the year ended December 31st, 2021. In its National Payment System report, the central bank, however, notes that although retail transactions contribute 99.1% of the overall volume of transactions, they account for just 9.6% of the total value of the transaction processed. According to the report, a total number of registered mobile money subscribers rose by 40.6% to 10.1 million, and a number of registered mobile money agents rose by 93.2% to 155.816 on the period under the review. Despite the increase in the number of active users, their proportion of total number of subscribers activity rated dropped from 41.4% in 2020 to 56.5% as of December 2021. Coming up next, your economic indicators.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning on this lovely Tuesday morning. Now, up next, we'll be taking a look at our sports news, brought to you by our correspondent all the way in South Africa, Ari Hogat. Let's have a look.
Good day to everyone, and it's time for international sport news. And we start off with the World Cup cricket of the Women's 50-over World Cup in New Zealand. News from the tournament is that in the opening game, it was the host New Zealand that lost to the West Indies by 3 runs. But they're back on winning ways. Their second game, it was New Zealand, the host, that beat Bangladesh quite convincingly by 9 wickets. Bangladesh batted first. They made 140 for the loss of 8 wickets. And then New Zealand had no trouble in batting down the runs. They scored 144 for the loss of only 1 wicket. Earlier results saw South Africa also beating Bangladesh in their first game, and then the first game for England was against Australia, and it was Australia that came out winners there by 12 runs. A big game for England coming up Wednesday. They play against West Indies under pressure after losing the first game, and West Indies of course beating New Zealand, so it will be a great game. That is England playing West Indies on Wednesday. On to some more cricket news. It's the men's international or the test series that we're going to talk about, and it was India that played against Sri Lanka. India batted first and they made 574 for the loss of 8 wickets, and that test is played in Mohali in Sri Lanka. And then Sri Lanka came into bat. They battled. They made just 174 in their first innings, and India asked them to follow on, and in the follow-on innings it was Sri Lanka that also didn't bat well. They made 178, and that left the India as the winners with an innings and 222 runs. The big performer in that game for India was their star batsman Ravindra Jadeja. He made 175 runs. And now we continue with some soccer news from Britain. It is the FA Cup that will continue on the 19th of March again. The knockout of the games, they have been determined who will play against each other. And the big game will be for Middlesbrough, that's been doing well. They will play against Chelsea. That will be a home game for them at the Riverside Stadium. Of course, Middlesbrough was quite in the news because they're a championship team, not a Premier League team. They're a second-tier team, so to speak, and they beat Manchester United at Manchester United a few weeks ago, and then also beat Tottenham Hotspur at home 1-0. So now they need to play against Chelsea at home, so it's a big fixture for them. Other games on the 19th of March will be Crystal Palace that will host Everton. Then Southampton will host Manchester City, a tough game for them. Liverpool will be away. They will play the winners of either Nottingham Forest or Huddersfield. And now to continue with some cycling news, it is the Paris-Nice cycling tournament or cycling event that's taking place. It's going to be over 8 stages, and the first stage was quite a flat one. It ended with a little bit of a hill before the end, and news from that first stage is that it was Christopher Laporte of France that won. His 2 teammates was with him in the end, and they were Primož Roglič of Slovenia and also Wouter van Aert. He is from Belgium. So the 3 of them got away just before the end, and they got together over the line. They're all 3 from the Jumbo Visma team. So that was the first stage of the Paris-Nice cycling stage 1. Stage 2 will be also a flat stage, so it will be the sprinters that will be in contention again, and the second stage will be 159 kilometers, and it will be from Ophughes to Orleans. That is stage 2 of the Paris-Nice cycling tour. And now for some tennis news, and it was the Lyon Women's Open that was played over the weekend. It's still in the news because one of the finalists, that is Diana Yestraenska, she's from the Ukraine. She was in the news because she donated her winnings from the tournament as a second place or runner-up to Ukraine for the cause against their fight against the Russian invasion. She's a Ukrainian, and she was in Ukraine just a week ago still, and she had to hide underneath parking lot, and she was there for 2 days stuck and got away with the 15-year-old sister. So it was quite significant. She lost it in the final against China's Zhang Jiayi, but she donated the £12,000 her winnings. She donated to a foundation that is linked to giving aid to people in Ukraine. And now to conclude some Formula 1 racing news, and it is the Formula 1 season that will start in a few weeks' time in Bahrain. And news from the Haas team is that Pietro Fittipaldi will most likely be the driver that will replace, that is Nikita Mazepin, the Russian driver that was sacked by the Haas team. And that was because of the Russian invasion into Ukraine. Also, Mazepin's dad, Dmitry Mazepin, is one of his companies, one of the main sponsors of the Haas team, and Haas also announced that they will no longer accept him as one of the sponsors. So the first race of the Formula 1 2022 season will start in a few weeks' time. That was on the 20th of March. That will be in Bahrain. So that's the international sporting news for today. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. If you've missed our top stories, here are the highlights. Egyptian female judge joins state council. UN confirms more than 400 civilian deaths in Ukraine. Nightmare of underage marriage for Moroccan girls. Ivory Coast apartment building collapses and kills at least 4 people. Oil price spikes at 139 on talks about Russia oil ban, Iran deal delay. Libya's national oil company announces suspension of production. And those have been our stories.
And with that, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Tuesday morning. Do remember that today is International Women's Day, so do something special for the ladies in your life. Remember that Africa Good Morning is also repeated on our 1up2 website and on our DSTV channel 285 between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. And if you have any comments regarding our program, do share with them on our Twitter pages and Facebook pages. Now, if you have any videos or photos of happenings in your parts of Africa, share them with us and we'll gladly include them in our program. I am Glenna Rashipura and this is Aina Raiza Kwayo.
It's all our love, all our light.